So how do you build a massive, complex piece of software when you know for a fact that the world, the technology, and what the customer wants are all going to change? I mean, how do you even start building something huge when the target is always moving? Well, let's get into it, because the answer is actually a pretty brilliant strategy. You build it piece by piece.
Here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll look at the old, really rigid way of doing things and why it struggles. Then we'll see how building in pieces is the solution. We'll get into all the advantages, but also some potential pitfalls to watch out for. And finally, we'll figure out where this model fits in the grand scheme of things.
Okay, so first up, let's really get a handle on the problem that this whole idea was meant to solve. Just imagine you're building a skyscraper the old-fashioned way. You spend months, maybe years, creating this perfect, super detailed blueprint. But what happens when you're halfway through construction and the client says, you know what, we need an extra floor? With that rigid plan, a change like that is an absolute nightmare. It's going to be incredibly difficult and unbelievably expensive.
So what's the deal? Why is it so hard to change a plan once you've set it in motion? And look, this isn't just a software thing. It's a classic headache in any big project. But in the tech world, where everything changes at lightning speed, a plan that can't bend is basically a death sentence for a project.
The traditional way of doing things was this thing called the waterfall model. And you should think of it exactly like the name sounds. You have to finish one entire phase, like gathering every single requirement, before even a single drop of water can flow down to the next phase, like design. The entire blueprint has to be 100% locked in before you can even think about writing a single line of code.
And right there, that's the core of the problem. The waterfall model's biggest strength, that super rigid structure, is also its fatal flaw. Because let's be honest, in the real world, when do customer needs ever stay exactly the same from the start of a project to the end? Pretty much never. And with this model, any big change means you have to go all the way back to the top of the waterfall and start over. It's brutal.
Okay, so if the build-it-all-at-once approach is just too rigid, what's the alternative? Well, the answer is to stop trying to build the entire skyscraper at once. Instead, you focus on building and delivering it one functional floor at a time. And that is the core idea behind the incremental model.
Now, the key word you really got to grab onto here is interleaved. This is the huge shift. Instead of these separate, rigid stages, all the main activities, planning, building, testing, they're all woven together in these overlapping cycles. You build and deliver the software in small, usable chunks we call increments.
So here's what that cycle actually looks like. You start with a basic idea of the system's architecture, kind of a high-level blueprint. Then, for each little piece, each increment, you develop it, you test it, and this part is absolutely crucial. You integrate it back into the main system. After you make sure everything still works together, you just start the cycle all over again for the next feature. The system literally grows and gets better with every single loop.
So why is this so much better for so many projects today? Well, the payoff here is huge. It's a win for the people building the software, and it's a win for the customers waiting for it. The advantages really boil down to three things: flexibility, feedback, and speed.
Let's break down what that actually means. First, making changes is way cheaper. If you need to pivot, you're just adjusting one small piece, not redrawing the entire project's master plan. Second, you get customer feedback constantly. You avoid that big reveal a year later where you find out you built the completely wrong thing. And third, and this is a total game changer for businesses, you get a working, useful product into your users' hands so much faster.
And this quote really hits the nail on the head. It's the bottom line. You can deliver the most important features first. That means the customer isn't just sitting around for a year waiting for the finished product. They can actually start using the core software to solve their problems or make money almost right away. They get real value right now.
Now, as great as this model is, it's not some magic wand that solves every problem. It definitely comes with its own set of challenges that you have to keep an eye on. So let's take a look at a couple of the main potential pitfalls.
So there are really two big ones to watch out for. First, if managers are used to the old waterfall model with its big, heavy documents, this process can feel less visible. It's harder to track progress in the same way. But the bigger danger is a technical one. As you keep adding new increments, new floors to our skyscraper, the underlying structure can get messy. It can start to decay if you're not careful. To fight this, teams have to regularly refactor. That's basically just pausing to clean up and improve the existing code to make sure the foundation stays solid for whatever you need to add next.
So we've seen the old way, we've seen this new approach, but where does the incremental model actually fit into the bigger picture of how we build software today? The key thing to remember is that it's not an all-or-nothing choice.
It's about picking the right tool for the right job.
This table lays it all out pretty perfectly. You've got the super rigid, slow waterfall model on one end. On the complete other end, you have the incredibly flexible, fast-paced world of agile methods. And the incremental model, it sits right there in the middle. It kind of serves as a bridge, giving you way more flexibility and speed than waterfall, but with a bit more structure than some of the pure agile approaches.
And you know, this is really its greatest strength. Delivering software in increments isn't just one single method. It's a foundational concept. You can use it in a very planned, structured way, or you can use it as the engine that drives a highly agile process. In fact, pretty much all modern agile development is built on top of this core idea of an incremental framework.
Just think about the apps on your phone or the websites you use every single day. They are almost all built this way. It would be literally impossible to define every single feature of a modern app in advance. Instead, they launch with a core set of functions, and then new increments, new features, bug fixes, updates are delivered to you constantly.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. In a world where software is always evolving, where it's never really done, the question isn't how to create a perfect plan that never changes. The real question is, how do we best embrace and manage constant, inevitable change? And the incremental model, well, it provides one of the most powerful answers we've got.